In case we have not met, I am Wayne Willis, Becky's little brother. Might be the same as favorite brother, but we'll leave that open for now for Mike and I to debate later. I'm really sorry that I cannot be there in person to participate in this tribute to my sister. I live about 14 hours away in Kentucky and recently had open heart surgery, a quintuple bypass, and the doctors have indicated that a trip this long at this time would be too risky. And since Becky was a cardiac nurse, I'm assuming that she would concur. So I'll try to share my own tribute from afar without any promise that I can get through it without tears. I'm 5 years younger than my big sister. I put the big in quotes because I think I stopped thinking of Becky as my big sister by the time I was about 12 or 13 years old. Partly because she was tiny and she reached her full adult height, and I had not reached mine, but I was taller than her, not very big myself. But also because Becky had a certain hopeful naivete about her that made her seem younger than her age. That's a bit like Debbie Reynolds in the movie Tammy and the Bachelor, if any of you are old enough to remember that. A positive view of the world that caused her to overlook negativities that many of us are prone to dwell on, but also made her miss the earthier points and jests that were made at our family's dining room table at supper sometimes. One might say something moderately funny and everyone would chuckle, except for Becky. And rather than pretend she got it and chuckle along with us, she would start asking questions to try to figure out what she was missing. And that was always funnier than the original joke. And before it was all over, we would all be roaring with laughter. Sometimes she might get the joke after a little while. At other times, it might be a week or a month before the point dawned upon her. When it did dawn on her, she would begin to laugh and laugh and laugh and find herself unable to stop laughing, which of course had all of us howling again. That laugh and her amused sense of wonder at things I always loved and often envied. Our dad was famous in the family and beyond as a storyteller, but Becky could generate enough funny stories in one vacation, especially when traveling with our cousin Judy Bishop, to script I Love Lucy for a whole season. After one of these excursions, Judy's brother, Andy Bryan, observed that a whole lot, many years of education had been wasted on those two women. Sometimes her funny stories had a distressing side. She told about flying to Detroit when she was in high school with Mamaw Fish, and the turbulent flight made them both think they were about to die. Becky's retelling of the story was a hoot, although the trauma was real enough to make flying a fearful, sometimes terrifying experience for her for the rest of her life. Mom and Dad instilled in all three of us a strong sense of ambition, but one that manifested itself differently in each of us. Mike set out to be an entrepreneur and spent a career exploring investments and adventures in the world of real estate and finance. I aspired to be a great scholar and made my career in academia. Becky's central ambition lay at home, not in the outside world of work, but where she aspired to be the best mom she could possibly be. Her two kids here today are a testimony to just how good a mom she was and how good a dad Richard was. I can tell you that I have serious doubts about how successful I was in my scholarly ambitions, but I have no doubt about Becky's success as a mom. And I would add that while Mom and Dad were always proud of my professional accomplishments and Mike's, Becky's success as a mom was held in no less esteem. Of course, those great kids grew up and moved out, and Becky needed another role into which she could pour herself and chose a career in nursing. While academic pursuits had never come as easy to her as they had to her siblings and her kids, Becky went back to college, dove in, buckled down, and earned that degree and those nursing credentials, and had a successful second career as mostly working in cardiac care. Her willingness to face really demanding tasks outside her comfort zone showed that Becky was made of more serious stuff than her tiny size and naive frame of mind might suggest. Not only in taking on the training and testing requirements of nursing, but in her personal life as well. When Stacy's family moved to Nigeria, Becky would not allow her fear of flying to keep her from seeing her grandkids. So she faced her fears head on and made the 36-hour plane trip to see those grandkids. How many of us have the courage to tackle our deepest insecurities so directly and in public, no less? Little did she know the challenges that were yet to come her way, particularly in the way of health problems. From rheumatoid arthritis to heart problems to back injuries to shoulder surgeries to hearing loss and on and on and on. When I think about the physical ordeals she went through in recent years and the patience she showed in the face of pain and declining abilities, I think she is one of the most admirable, most heroic people that I know. Actually, in those ways, a lot like her mama. And I think that is about as high a compliment as Becky would ever care to hear. You are as courageous and faithful as your mama. I would like to end with two little scenes from a few years ago. One is a photograph of Aunt Marilyn and Mom greeting each other on Mom and Dad's porch in North Carolina. I think Judy took the photo. The sisters had not seen each other in a long time. In the photo, we can't see Marilyn's face, but I'm quite sure it echoed the look of pure joy on Mom's face. How grand to see your dear sister after such a long, long time. The second scene occurred in Dad's bedroom in our house during his final year. One night after Becky and Dad had been FaceTiming, he was still sitting on his walker seat by the table where he kept the iPad and a ton of other stuff. I was sitting on the edge of his recliner, so we could talk. He told me that Becky was not well enough to travel all the way to Kentucky to see him anymore, and that he was no longer able to travel to see her. The implications of that suddenly hit him hard. And he said, I'll never see my little girl again. And he began to sob uncontrollably. I'd never seen him like that. I got up and stood behind him and hugged him and laid my head on top of his, and he continued to cry. I reminded him how great it was that through FaceTime, they could see each other as often as they wanted for as long as they wanted. That was a heartbreaking and wonderful and unforgettable moment for me. Heartbreaking to see his excruciating pain, and wonderful to see such an all-out, uninhibited expression of his love for Becky. This, I believe, is how every father should love his children in his old age. And of course, Becky was always, no matter the passage of time, his little girl. And today I evoke those two scenes for us all as an expression of the hope that somehow, on the other side, there's a place for such reunions where Mom and Marilyn and Becky all share that glow of utter joy in their reunion, and where Becky and Dad can hug each other without tears. And she can say, Daddy, I knew I'd see you again. I love you, Becky.